everyone. This is the Ophthalmology Business Podcast, where we help you develop your ideal practice with the help of other doctors and experts. The topics we cover include marketing, management, leadership, recruitment, HR, mindsets, and more. I'm Sarah Duval, one of the co-hosts of the podcast. Every listener of this podcast is welcome to join the Ophthalmology Business Academy at www.obacademy.org. The membership is on us, and it's our gift to you. Today, I'm excited to talk to Kathy Otto, Director of Marketing at Fichte, Endl Elmer Eyecare in Buffalo, New York. So this is actually a part two with Kathy. A few months ago, we spoke about how her practice has a ton of success with their cataract lunch and learns. So we decided that we really needed a follow-up talk about how they do their LASIK open houses. Today's podcast title will be LASIK Open House, a great way to educate the public and increase revenue. So Kathy, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself for those who maybe didn't hear our part one, and then we'll just jump right in.
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I always enjoy speaking with you and sharing any information I can with other people who are looking to grow their practices. I am Kathy Otto. I have worked at the same ophthalmology practice since 1997, which is a long time. I celebrated my 25th anniversary last July, and I have had a number of jobs throughout. I've been in the trenches. I'm a certified ophthalmic assistant. I've assisted in LASIK surgery, cataract surgery, and I am currently the director of marketing, where I have performed that job for about a decade now. So I have seen us from advertising in phone books and church bulletins back when we opened in the 90s, all the way up to the digital age today, where we talk about things like SEO and Snapchat and Facebook.
Awesome. I think I'm just going to let you have the floor, Kathy. You guys seem to have it down pat, right? And what you guys do. So why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners what it is that you do and how it's been so successful to you, for you.
For sure. So like I said, I've been doing the marketing aspect for about a decade. So this event was going on well before I took over, and it was cultivated and brought about into our practice probably 25 years ago when we started doing LASIK. So it has progressed over the years from a very small, intimate event to now what we are hosting a large event of oftentimes over 100 people every single month. And you have to walk before you run. So no one's going to start doing this and have 100 people. Usually you have to kind of sort out what works in your market. But the basic roadmap that we like to follow is a really kind of a simple recipe. Basically, it is a free event. We do it every month. We usually do it on a Wednesday or a Thursday evening. It is held at 6 p.m. at our office, where we do LASIK, Smile, PRK. So we hold it in our office because A, we have enough space to do this, and B, it's very nice to let people tour the facility, see the laser suites, get acclimated and understand where we're located. And it just kind of puts them at ease once they see, oh, I think I could lay on that bed. And, oh, I know there's free parking here now. I know where this place is. It just takes a lot of the fear and the unknown out when they get familiar with the actual building and the practice. So whenever we can, we like to hold it in the office. And we always do it during dinner time, basically because we're based in Buffalo, New York. And if you know anything about Western New York or New York State in general, we have snow and we have crummy cold weather a lot of the months, honestly. So from about November until March, you could have a snowstorm, and people like to get out of work and go home and put their pajamas on. So if they go home in the winter and get comfortable, we know they're not coming back out. So we got to get them right after work when they're driving home and take a right to come to our house instead of take a left to go to their house. So we say the doors open at 5:30 and the event starts at 6 p.m. The event is always hosted by our surgeons, which I feel is super important. because the doctors are the ones that they want to have FaceTime with, and they want to make a relationship with, and they want to hear them speak. So we have many, many capable optometrists, COMTs, COAs, myself, I would be capable of hosting, but we put the doctors in the forefront and in the spotlight, and we find it works very well for us. So I would recommend, if you try to host one of these events, that you too utilize one of your surgeons, or maybe several. We have 3 surgeons doing LASIK, and all 3 of them come every single month. So it's great. They're very articulate. They love crowds. They like to educate. So we have the ideal situation. If you don't have that, then, maybe you have one doctor. Maybe you have an optometrist and the doctor pops in, who's the surgeon, if he's not so articulate or doesn't really like to address a crowd. So you just kind of work with your own situation. So that's kind of how we do it during the week. We also serve food because they're hungry. They just came from work. And that food is from a local restaurant. So they get in, they sign in, they see the laser suites, they tour the office, they stop by a buffet of food, they sit down, they get a nice plate of food, and they kind of look through a folder that we've given them when they came. So upon arrival, they receive a nice folder full of information, and they browse through it, get familiar with the procedures. There's a nice frequently asked question sheet in there. So they have some literature to look at, and they're not just staring at a blank wall while other people file in. The program starts promptly at 6. We show a 6-minute video about who we are, how long we've been in the community, and how we are cutting edge and a leader in Western New York with our technology. The doctors come out next. They introduce themselves. The next thing that happens is they introduce a live surgery patient. And back in the day, we used to actually do the procedure right in front of your eyes. We would do it in the laser room, which was 30 feet away from the waiting room. We would pipe it in onto a big screen and everyone would watch. When COVID hit, we turned to a Zoom format, and we couldn't show a live surgery. So we got away from it. But what we did do was we brought on a patient who had the surgery weeks ago or months ago, and we let them speak about their experience. And through that little detour, we learned that that's actually a nicer way to do it, because now we have a patient who can talk about my preoperative experience, my day in the OR, my post-op recovery, and how I'm doing today. So it gave a bigger, broader picture. And I think the patients really appreciated that more. So when COVID was over and we stopped doing Zoom format and we came back in person, we said, you know what, let's record people and let's bring them back in person 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 1 week after their procedure. So then we'll show one eye having the procedure. We won't bore them with both because that's kind of monotonous and long. And then we'll bring the patient out and we'll let them talk all about their experience. And people ask questions, they answer them. And another great thing about doing it this way is they don't have to rush off and go home, because usually when you have laser vision correction, we like to say, as soon as you get finished, we want you to go home and take a doctor prescribed nap, because the tear film can help heal. So we don't want you standing around for 25 minutes talking to people. We want you to get in the car and go home. So this way they're already healed and they have a much better dialogue and a lot to say about their recovery. So once the patient's done, we do a little more Q&A. We offer people the option to make an appointment. So if they would like to come for a LASIK evaluation and be evaluated, they can then sign up at our front office. And as we like to say, we have operators standing by. So we usually have 6 or 7 people available at their computers ready to schedule people for evaluations. And as a special gift to the patient for coming that night, we waive the fee. The evaluation fee is normally $150, but because you came to the open house, you get to come for your evaluation at no charge, which is a nice hook. And that's a reason to come. It's sometimes hard to get millennials and people who, work from home and don't want to leave the house or ready to get out of there to come in. So this is a nice incentive to come in.
Kathy, if I could just ask, is there a time limit on, how long that 150 lasts? Or could I come to your open house today and then 3 years from now come and say, I was at your open house in 2023?
Yes, good question.
That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean.
Yes, we usually make it a month. You have a month. to schedule it. You don't have to be seen within a month, but we like you to make your appointment within a month. And we can see when you've been here, because when you register for the open house event, you are now in our system and we can see the day that you came.
You are adding a little bit of a sense of urgency, sort of.
Exactly, because you don't want to make it
light a fire.
right. Exactly.
Okay.
So a lot of people register for the free evaluation, and the ones that don't obviously are just still thinking about it, and that's fine. We do have a fair amount of people that what we call no-show, and if we have no-shows, and we always do, then we spend the next couple of days calling them, asking them if there's anything we can do. Can we sign you up for the next one? Can we offer you the free evaluation because you intended on coming, but something came up? Can I just answer questions for you or send you some information? So we oftentimes get more people during the follow-up calls to register for the evaluation as well. Yeah, so it's a great event. We've really made it it's been a long journey. It's been 20 plus years that we're doing these. We've tried many different advertising channels. Many have worked well. And just like I like to say about marketing, the only constant in marketing is change. So just when we think we've got it nailed and we've got the secret sauce and everything's working and we're getting great attendance, suddenly it's not working anymore. And we've got to take a step back and reevaluate. But that's fine. That's for marketers. And that's what my team does. We figure it out.
A lot of pivoting all the time in healthcare.
Yep.
So, all right. So let's talk about then, how do you typically get the word out? Is it, I think you mentioned radio.
We do use radio. We do use some TV. We use a lot of social media. We know that the older demographic is Facebook, and LASIK is generally geared for people 18 to say, well, we like to say 55. So we are advertising heavily on Facebook. And even though there's a lot of older people on Facebook now, we get a large amount of people from these ads. And probably, even though some of them are not great LASIK candidates, they're still great candidates for multifocal contact lenses. And they're also great candidates for multifocal cataract surgery implants. So we have a lot to talk about with these people. So if we get people that sign up who are older, instead of signing up for LASIK Open House, we have a conversation with them and we talk about cataract surgery lunch and learn as an option, or coming in for a contact lens evaluation for bifocal contacts. And they're certainly welcome to come to the LASIK presentation if they're on the border, or a tween, as we like to call them, between LASIK and between cataract surgery. Sure, the more the merrier. And eventually they'll come in for something. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah, we do have some older people that come in off the Facebook channel, but that's okay. We do in-house advertising. So we have closed circuit TVs in our offices. We have 4 of them, 1 in each waiting room at 2 different offices. So we have information that we can program on those TVs. So we're always talking about it up there. We always have our optometry team and our technicians working up the patients and seeing them for even routine eye care or anything. And anytime somebody is a qualified patient for LASIK based on their prescription and their age, we always mention to them, have you considered LASIK? If so, we do offer this educational event every month. Check it out on our website. And they can register for a number of events way in advance. So what we like to do is on our website, you can sign up for any number of them. There's three to 4 of them posted at all times, because people like to plan ahead. So if they see an ad in the paper for June 14th, for instance, which is my next one, but they know, oh, geez, I got to take my kids to soccer that night, I can't come. But if they visit our website, they're going to see the August, the September, the October, they're going to see the next bunch of them. And then lots of times we get people signing up for 1 and 2 months or 3 months, well in advance. And of course, they get appointment reminders because it's in our schedule as somewhat of an appointment. And they would get an appointment reminder with a text or a call in advance. So even though they signed up 2 months in advance, they're in the program and they're going to get a reminder. So lots of different advertising modalities, different channels, and we're always open to new ones as well. We're recently experimenting with Snapchat because that's the younger demographic, and we've done 1 month of Snapchat and we've got 2 more on tap. So that could be another discussion. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. What are your initial thoughts with the Snapchat?
Well, we initially wanted to try it because one of our surgeons, Dr. Endl, has 3 teenage daughters, and he says they're literally glued to it night and day. And
Same with my teenage son.
yeah, if it's nothing more than keeping us top of mind when they're ready for it, then he'd be happy with it. He's not looking for mass exodus of people to sign up. So we didn't get many people signed up, but we got loads of swipe ups, and we've got a couple of form fills about information, and we just ran a short campaign for our May event. Now we're running another short campaign. We're doing it 10 days prior to the June event, and we'll see. We tweaked some things. We had a meeting with Snapchat, which is interesting. They give you an onboarding coordinator and they help you adjust things. And we found out our pixel wasn't working properly. So that could have been a contributing factor. We also changed some age limitations. There's different pots of people you can target. So we noticed through the algorithm that there's a group that's age 13 to 40, and lots of them were only 13. And of course, 13 is too young. So we got rid of the 13-year-olds and we bumped it up, and we start it now at 17, because 17, even though it's not 18, which is our minimum age, we get lots of 17-year-olds calling and saying, my birthday's in a month. I'm ready. My mom says when I'm 18, I can do this. So 17 is good. So for this month, nobody under 17 will be seeing those ads.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Oh, this is really interesting. Yeah, I think that using Snapchat in healthcare advertising could probably be another whole podcast. I myself don't really use Snapchat. I've never really understood that one. So
yeah, and things disappear quickly. They don't last. And it also is a very lean forward scroll. It's not type of platform where you're going to stop a lot and do a form fill, or stop a lot and deep into anything, and stop a lot and type in your name and your form information. So we know that going in. And if we don't get a lot of form fills, but we get a lot of swipe ups, meaning people are interested, they're wanting to learn more, we'll be happy with that. And we made a lot of special funny videos geared toward younger people, the type of thing you do see on Snapchat. So we've made different types of ads for that platform. And it's been a fun little adventure. We'll see once the 3-month trial is over how we actually do.
Yeah. So I want to go back to talking about in the actual open house. You said that you play a video, right?
Yeah.
So there could be people who are listening to this who have a very big budget. There could be some who don't have a big budget. I'm curious, for your particular practice, is the video something that you've produced in-house? Is it something that you've had produced professionally?
So we actually had it produced professionally, and this is our third one. So every 5 or 7 years, we redo it. We just redid it this year because our doctors are losing some hair. They're getting a little gray. And we were kind of laughing one day. We're like, look how young they look. It must be time to do a little bit of an update. So we use our TV commercial production company to film it and shoot it for us. And then they weave it into a 6 to 8 minute video synopsis. And they do a phenomenal job. And I would, in the big scheme picture of things, I'd say it's a nominal cost, but there is a cost to it, and it's professionally done. You can, however, do something very, very nice on a zero budget. I have made many, many videos using a handheld stabilizer for my iPhone, and that's $89, and buying a $59 Bluetooth microphone works phenomenally. You can get it on Amazon. And I make a lot of our social media videos with those two tools. And you can do a lot with that. You can do the Animoto video editing program, which I subscribe to. It's great. It's very user-friendly. All your videos live in one place and you can store them up. And that's how I make a lot of my videos. And if you ever visited our page on YouTube, you'll see tons and tons of the videos that I make with those two small tools. And they do look very professional.
Okay. All right. So like I said, there's listeners from all over the place, different markets, different budget sizes. So those are actually really great tips for those who might want to kind of dip their toe into this, but need to keep the costs down. So thank you for that. Gosh. So, obviously you guys have figured this out. You're a very well-oiled machine. It's obviously working, or you wouldn't still be doing it this way 20, 25 years later. What are, your conversion rates from open house to surgery?
I look at conversions in two different ways. So our main conversion rate for open house, we look at how many people came, and how many actually booked an evaluation. Because at the open house event, our job is to educate and then get them to convert to believing in us, believing in the procedure, and coming in to take the next step. So our conversion rate for people who show up and then book an evaluation is usually between 76 and 86%. So if we have 100 people show up, 76 to 86 of them actually book an evaluation. Now, a handful of them have already booked in advance, because sometimes they sign up for the evaluation, but they still want to come for the information, and we welcome that. Other times we have a conversion rate that's lower because of the weather. A lot of times we'll get people that don't show up, and we have way less people than we expected, and then they're leaving early. It's a blizzard. I mean, we literally have blizzards. It's nuts.
Right.
So there's that to contend with. I did have a very unique situation just 2 months ago in April. In April, it's hit or miss, because it could be our very best weather. It could be amazing. And if it's amazing, then, we get less people showing up. It's like spring fever. All of a sudden, people want to run around and go outside, and we've been wearing jackets. So
I'm in New Hampshire, so I can relate,
Yes.
I absolutely know what it's like.
We were expecting about 68 people, I believe. This was in April. It was a lower one, and only 23 showed up because it was 77 degrees, which is unheard of in April.
Mm-hmm.
And of the 23 who showed up, 23 scheduled an evaluation.
Oh,
and
wow.
We have seen this before. The lower the group, the smaller the group size, the higher the conversion rate. And I really believe it's because it's more of a one-on-one personal feeling. They don't feel like they're in a, large setting. They feel like it's just more for them. And we see that in Lunch and Learn too. In Cataract Lunch and Learn, when there's a smaller group, there's a higher conversion. So that's
do you ever cap the number of attendees because of the fact that people seem to respond better to the smaller group?
No, because if we have let's use May for an example. May 11th, just a couple weeks ago, was my May event. I had 104 people expected. Okay. I know that I can only comfortably seat 85 or 87 people. So I know that usually 30 to 40 people of 100 no show, even though they get reminder calls. It's going to be nice out. It's May. And I was right. 40 people no showed. So I never cap it, because there's this number of people that just don't show up. And then in exchange with that, oddly enough, there's some walk-ins. Even though all the advertisement says registration is required, you still get people that walk in and say, oh, I didn't know, or my friend told me about this just this morning. A handful of people walk in, but a lot of them tend to no show, even with your reminder call efforts and your, texting efforts. I think sometimes people just think they're going to come, or they do an auto form fill and they're kind of like laissez-faire about it, and they're just not that committed yet. And it's fine, because now they're in our drip marketing campaign. We use MD Prospects, which I highly recommend, and they're now going to get all sorts of messaging about laser vision correction and Zeiss Smile and the difference between, different procedures. And then they'll get some emails through our email blast system, because now we've captured them when they filled the form out. So even though they don't show up, and maybe they didn't even sign up for an evaluation yet, they're still going to be getting our messaging.
So looking back and then looking ahead, Kathy, thinking back to the way it was when you first took over, what are probably the best things that you guys did right back then that you're still doing right, and that you would, recommend to somebody who just wants to just start? They've never done a LASIK open house before and they want to get started. What is probably, let's say, the top 2 things that you would say that have been consistently working for you in all these years?
I would say make sure you have appropriate staffing. That is key, because the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time, money, and effort and energy into advertising and reeling people in. And then once they get there, it's time to be greeted properly, be led around properly, be, most importantly, at the end, make your appointment. The last thing you need is lines and lines and lines of people, and there's 2 people to make an appointment. People will just be like, you know what, I'll just call. And then you lost them, because they might not call. So you want to make sure you staff it appropriately, and you have enough people to make appointments at the end and greet people properly and answer questions at the end. When we break up at the end, the doctors usually say, we'll be standing by to answer individual questions if you don't want to ask your questions in this public group. And then any of technicians that we have working that night, and myself included, we also stand by and we answer questions. So everyone can get their questions answered and get an appointment made. So have a good fair amount of staff on board, people who are happy to be there, excited to be there, like your A team, the people who have a smile on their face and are knowledgeable and ready to help. That'd be my biggest tip, because we have had staffing issues, especially, prior to COVID and post-COVID. It's hard to get people to work sometimes. So definitely have people around to work it. That'd be my number one suggestion. And I would also say, for us, ordering and having the food, because they're coming right from work. And we advertise dinner provided by My Tomato Pie, which is a local restaurant. You do not have to buy the food. You can do trade. That's what we do. It's perfectly legal. We'll say we want some pizzas, some subs, a cookie tray. We want some drinks. And then because you're giving us that, we will then say on all of our advertisements, whether it's print, digital, or radio, TV, food provided by My Tomato Pie. And it's a great trade-off, because they don't usually advertise on TV and radio. And now all of a sudden they're all over the place.
Oh, okay. So earlier when you mentioned this, I just assumed that you were paying for the catering.
Never. We've never paid for it in 20 years. We couple with different restaurants, and we have a great relationship with a lot of area restaurants. And right now we've had the same one for a couple of years. Prior to that, we had a different one for a couple of years. And we just kind of say to them annually, did you like the program? Do you want to renew? And they say, sure. And, it's a little bit of a contract. We sign off. You're going to be on these many ads, and we're going to talk about you in this manner. And this is the value that you're getting. We actually write it out in dollar amount, how much we're going to spend on the ads that you're featured on. And you're going to give us this much food. And, they really make out, because the amount of the cost for food and beverages for 60 to 100 people is minuscule compared to the cost to advertise this event for 7 to 10 to 14 days out every month.
Oh, that's another question. I guess that's something we didn't cover, was how far in advance are you running your ads? So 7 to 10 days.
So I have an interesting schedule, and it's mainly because we introduced billboards a couple of years ago. We're in our third year of doing billboards consistently, and we do digital billboards, which means we can change our message at any time we want. And the billboards are used only to promote LASIK Open House. I buy them on main arteries where there are highly trafficked areas. The billboard moves around every month. So this month it's in the Interstate 290 going west at the such and such exit. Okay, it's a popular spot. So it says starting on the night the last open house ended. So my last one ended on May 11th at 8 p.m. So at 8 p.m. on May 11th, my new billboard came on. And it said LASIK Open House, June 14th. Okay, so now that's been rolling since the night the last one ended. I do not do any paid advertising of any sort while the billboard is running for the first 2 to 3 weeks. Then I look at my schedule and I see how many people are signed up. It's always, before I did billboards, it might be 7, 9, 12, 14 people in the first 3 weeks. And then all the people would sign up as a result of my other advertising. Now I can track that billboard and how good it's working, because it's the only thing really out there working at that time. And we generally have about 40 people signed up before any of the other stuff starts. And all of the other things start on a 14-day prior, 7-day prior, or 10-day priors to the event.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really got this down, huh, Kathy?
Yeah, it's pretty buttoned up. And another thing, a really inexpensive, cheap thing to do is email blasts. And they've been working great for us. We use CompuLink, and I can go in there and I can send an email blast to every single person in there that has the diagnosis code of myopia, astigmatism, mixed astigmatism, hyperopia in a certain age range, and send that out at no cost. And I can also send out email blasts with MD prospects for I think 2 cents a name. And I have thousands of people in those databases. I also do an email blast every month with Facebook. So I have a Facebook mailing list of 11,000 people, and those people are getting my messaging. And I love these because the social media ones are very trackable. I can see that 9 people came in and they brought 3 guests from the MD Prospects Blast. And I can see that 14 people came in from the Facebook Blast. So I can tell they're working. And so my efforts are not wasted, and they're dirt cheap to free.
Wow. This is really great advice. So, okay, so we did the looking back, right? You gave me the 2 things that have been working consistently all these years. Looking ahead, is there something, I mean, you're doing the Snapchat now, but is there something else maybe that you guys are toying with, thinking that might be something down the road that you want to do to, I'm assuming that you're not thinking at all about getting rid of the open house. So is there something that you're thinking of adding to the open house?
So what we're thinking of adding to the open house is basically something that it's very specific to us, wouldn't apply to everyone, but our waiting room, like I said, comfortably holds about 85 people. And when we do a big promotion like a LASIK or a Zeiss Smile giveaway, like if you come to the event, we'll put your name in a drawing and you might win. We can get like 140 people sign up for that. When we do those, we oftentimes go off site. We plan them well in advance, and we do them at a local banquet facility. We recently bought our building, and we now have access to more space. We were renting it for many years. So we're going to add a room in our building where we can actually host bigger events and just open the doors, and all the chairs will be there, and we'll bring the food in. And it's going to be great for us because right now we have a staff of people that on open house night, we run around and we get chairs out of waiting rooms and we set them up and we create aisles and we drag folding tables, and it's a lot of manual labor. So I'm looking forward to the day we can just unlock our event room door and hold these types of events in another space within our practice. So that's one change we have on tap. As far as marketing changes and how are we going to get people to these events, I don't know what's around the corner. Nobody does. If I had that crystal ball, I think I'd be a very, very wealthy woman.
Fair enough. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, is there any other wisdom that you would like to impart on the person who's listening, who's maybe just getting started? Maybe they're new to their practice and their practice has never really done these sorts of things before. What would you say in your infinite wisdom, Kathy Otto?
I think when you try to do these events, think small, because you're not going to be huge in the beginning. Don't give up if they don't impress you right away. Keep tweaking. Try to use all the cheap, inexpensive ways to advertise if you have a small budget. If you have a bigger budget, I know many people argue that radio doesn't work in their market, or TV doesn't work in their market, or newspaper doesn't work in their market. I mean, I think we've done all of those things, and some of them do, some of them don't. You kind of have to do a trial and error. But yeah, just don't give up. You have to keep trying. We've had small events, we've had big events, we've had enormous events, we've had weather-related impact on our events, we've had COVID, but we plow through, and you just got to keep trying, and you can't give up, because these events are so beneficial to the people in your community too. You're offering a nice service, you're educating everyone. And if you don't get a lot of people to sign up that night, just think about what you have offered. Nobody else in your area is probably taking the time to welcome people in, introduce yourselves to a new patient base, invite them to become a patient, and talk about what you offer. And that's really a nice thing to offer as a community service.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really good spot to end then, to end our conversation. But before we actually end the podcast, do you welcome people to reach out to you if they listen to this and they have some individual questions? How can people find you, Kathy?
Oh, they can definitely reach out to me. I get a lot of people emailing me and questions, and contact me through LinkedIn, which is fine. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a large following there. You can share my email address with people if you would like as well, and I will always answer back. And I love to connect with people, and I'm sure I can learn just as much from you about something that you're great at.
That is the great thing about social media and podcasting, and just the connections that I've made too. The connections that I made with you, and I mean, our first conversation was so great and so beneficial that it's led us to the second one. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Kathy, for joining us today and talking to us about LASIK Open House, a great way to educate the public and increase LVC revenue. We appreciate it very much. I also want to take a moment to thank our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. We cannot do what we do without you. If you like our podcast, kindly share it with your friends and on social media. Also, please don't forget to write a review on iTunes or Google Play. Your reviews will help other doctors and practice owners find us. Till we meet again, wishing all of you an amazing week ahead.